So this is JamsHams Judgement. If you don't know what it is, basically, every week I review a thing. Here's the broad details. So every week I review a thing, and then everyone in chat can join in the conversation and, you know, tell me their thoughts and feelings about the thing I am reviewing. And this week I will be doing a John Wick. Excuse me. Yes, John Wick. Or should I say, JamsWick? Yes, and then of course after watching you should join the Discord where I have my suggestion box where you can suggest the things I review. Yes, right you are, Fritz. And there is the link to that. I also for a 5-minute Photoshop, I think the photo I did for the thumbnail for the Going Live thing of me as John Wick came out weirdly well. It's just, I don't know. Actually, having the green screen helps with the thumbnails and stuff. It makes it easier to like crop out faces and stuff. It's already paying for itself. It's already paying for itself. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna go have a quick rundown of the first two movies. So, John Wick. The OG John Wick Chapter 1. So basically, John Wick is an assassin, or was an assassin at this point. He is like the best assassin, like ridiculously good, also known as the Baba Yaga, the Boogeyman. It's said that like he'll be the last thing that many men see. And that's how he got all these spooky nicknames. But he's a certified badass, and you know, for years he was working for like, I don't know, some crime families and all sorts. But then he met the love of his life called Helen, and he wanted out. He wanted out of the whole crime business. So he was tasked with an impossible task. And if he did said task, he could leave and get out. And obviously, John Wick being John Wick, he fucking nails it. Does the impossible task, gets out, retires, spends a nice happy life with Helen. Oh, did I say spends a nice happy life with Helen? Oh, that's wrong. That's wrong, because Helen dies. Helen gets some sort of illness, cancer, I'm assuming. And dies. Helen, rip Helen, F for Helen. John Wick, sad man, very sad man. And to cope with this this loss, he gets a little puppy. He gets a little puppy, which is cute. I believe. No, I'm not good with dog breeds. I think it's a beagle. I think it's a beagle. Yeah. Is that it? Is that it? I think it's one of them. I think it's whatever that is that he gets. He gets a little puppy. And he loves the puppy. Oh, the puppy helps him. The puppy helps a sad John Wick. He also loves another thing. He also loves his car, a Mustang, I believe. And so yeah, he's getting his life back on track. Still retired. No, nothing bad. But one day, he was out driving his Mustang, and who does he run into but some Russian mobsters? Not that he knew that, but he ran into them at a gas station. They wanted to buy his car. He was like, fuck off, it's my car. No, thank you. And the Russians didn't take too kindly to this, so they followed him home and tried to kill him, which is, you know, the natural response to being told no. Daddy obviously spoiled this one too much. So yeah, they follow him home, try to kill him, and 12 low-tier Russian mobsters, as you can imagine, are not going to be able to take down the Baba Yaga, so he kills them all, obviously. Efficiently, but that's not before they Now this is the big F. This is the biggest F in the series. They kill the puppy. They kill the little puppy dog. And it's sad. And nobody likes it. The big F in the chat. R.I.P. puppy. So this is what flicks John over the edge. Yeah, rest in pepperoni's Papa. But don't worry, Papa gets avenged big style right now. Okay, so where are we? So the person that came to his house, the main guy, is the Russian crime boss's son. And basically, he didn't know who John Wick was, but then he runs off home to Daddy. It's like, oh, this guy just murdered like 10 of my men. What do? And he's like, you fucking idiot! You went after John Wick, the best assassin that's ever lived. So he's in trouble. He's in trouble. So Mob Dad, I'll call him Mob Dad because I don't know his actual name. I'll call him Mob Dad. Puts a 2 million bounty on John's head. So John has to retreat to the Continental for safety, and the Continental is basically, I'll get more into this a bit later, but the Continental is basically, because, well, let's say this, the crime in this universe is like very organized. There's like higher ups, there's rules and regulations that need to be followed, and basically at this Continental, which is a hotel in New York, no crime business can be conducted, no killing. It's basically a safe haven for any no good people. So John gets there and is safe. Also, he thinks, well, no, he is safe. He is safe. I don't know why I said that. So yeah, basically from there, with the help of the hotel owner, Winston, he tracks down the mob boss's son, heads there, kills him. I mean, throughout this film, I've obviously been skipping them because I can't describe them, but the fight scenes, I'll get onto the fight scenes. That's its own separate thing, basically. I'm concentrating on the story. So the fight scenes all break out. This is the big fight scene, and he kills the mob boss's son and officially avenges the doggo. Good. And that film ends with him going past an animal shelter and basically stealing another dog that was going to be put down. So now he has another doggo, a pit bull, and the pit bull stars in the next two as well. And it's a good boy. And I will say now, there have been, as far as I can remember, no more doggo deaths, which is good. So that's a big plus. That's a big plus. You can't go too heavy on the doggo deaths. That's my general consensus for any film. Too many doggo deaths, you've lost me. But one hefty doggo death that sets up the hero on his path, that's fine. Gives him much better motivation than his wife dying. But yeah, that is the general story of John Wick 1. So in general, the first John Wick is like the most basic. It doesn't go like too in depth with all this this higher up stuff and the rules and everything, but it sort of like lays the foundations. The next two get a bit more complex with the lore behind all the crime families, and it gets a bit, I don't know, it's one of my, I both like and dislike it at the same time, because some of it gets just really weird. Obviously we'll get onto that. Mostly in the third one it got a bit weird, for me at least. So yeah, John Wick. Does exclamation mark crickets work? Should do. I've got my chat bot on. Why? You didn't try it, did you? But yeah, it should work. Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. Okay, so John Wick 2. Start of John Wick 2 is like literally about no, I didn't turn off. No. That might be a good call though. That might be a good call. Yeah. Maybe in the future. Yes. John Wick 2 starts off basically a few hours after the first one ends. John Wick is approached by an Italian crime lord this time, so out with the Russians, in with the Italians. And he says to John that he needs him to cash in. He goes to John cashing in a favor, and he has this favor because the impossible task that John used to like get out of the game and retire. He made a blood oath with this Italian guy to help him, and in return he'll have a favor one day. So he has like his blood in a little funky medallion, and it's like, oh, you swore a blood oath, you have to do this thing for me. And John was like, nope, I've had enough. Please leave me alone. That is a big no from John, and yeah, John outright refuses. But as a result, he gets his house grenade launched, which is again bit extreme, but hey ho, this is everything is a bit extreme in the John Wickiverse, as it were. So yeah, F for his house. It was a nice house too. It was a nice house. But yeah. So yeah, once again he has to go to the Continental so he doesn't get blown up with his house. And then Winston, the owner, is basically like, well, I mean, you did promise this guy to help him out one day, and you've got your blood in the amulet. You need to do it, John. Stop being a little puss and do your job. So he's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So the Italian crime boss wants his sister assassinated because I can't remember why. I think it's something like she was climbing too high and like everyone liked her more than him or something. But she's like amazingly famous and like has like the best security in the world and stuff. But obviously John does it because it's John Wick. So he gets to her, but she decides to just kill herself and go out on her own terms. So she slits her wrists and jumps in a pool or something. He wants his pasta. He does. But yeah, so John is, you know, he didn't kill her, but he's still successful in his mission. But the Italian crime boss pulls a sneaky on old John. He does, and puts a $7 million bounty on John's head. He does this to cover up the fact that he had his sister murdered. So he's like putting the blame solely on John Wick. So now John Wick has a $7 million bounty on his head. So lots of assassins come out of the woodwork, and lots of fight scenes, obviously. But he gets help from another crime boss. There are lots of crime bosses in this franchise. Called the Bowery King. He runs a pretty funky organization where it's basically a lot of assassins, but they're all dressed as like hobos. So like they quickly like grab him, hide John Wick as a hobo, save his life and get him like kitted out and stuff, and give him some information. But the whole like hobo crime syndicate operation, because they're all dressed as hobos, but they're all like really fancy and like highly trained assassins and stuff. So I just like, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool concept, hiding in plain sight and whatnot. Same thing that happened to Martin Luther. Who knows? Not me. If you say so. If you say so. I wasn't aware that Martin Luther was a crime boss dressed as a hobo, but okay. But if that's a real thing, then sure. Sure, that's pretty nifty too, I guess. So yeah, they're called the Bowery, and the boss is called the Bowery King. He'll come up later. He's going to be quite important, I believe, in John Wick 4. So John needs to find out where this Italian crime boss is, so he can kill him, because that's what John does. But it turns out that the Italian crime boss pulled a John Wick and is hiding out in the Continental. No murders allowed. How rude. How rude of the crime boss. And basically the crime boss is like, well, I can stay here for the rest of my life, so bad luck, Chuck. But John kills him anyway, even though that's like strictly against every rules. So this is right near the end of the film. So he's killed the guy that's put the bounty on his head. But that has forfeited like all of his rights and protection from everyone, which is called he's been made excommunicado. So now no one can help him out. No help for John. No safety in the Continental, or anything. And the bounty has been doubled to 14 million. But Winston manages, the head of the Continental, manages to get it delayed by an hour. So John Wick basically has 1 hour to get the fuck out of there before every assassin in the world is trying to kill John Wick. And that is how John Wick 2 ends. It's a pretty fucking badass ending, because like that's one of the things that I kind of, it's just weird in these movies that everybody is just a fucking assassin apparently. It ends with the bounty being put out to the public, or not public, but the like all the crime networks and the assassins and stuff. And like every single person's phone in I think it's Central Parks. That's where John is, and like everyone around him, their phone starts going off, and as everyone's alerted about John Wick's bounty, and it's just like every single person, which is about over 100 people around John Wick, and apparently for some reason they're all assassins. And from this point forward, basically everyone John meets turns out to be an assassin. So I guess there are just fucking millions of them in this universe. So yeah, the John Wick 2 ends with him being pretty injured, with a 14 million bounty on his head, with 1 hour to get prepared or get out. And that's how John Wick 2 ends. So pretty hefty cliffhanger. So now we get onto John Wick 3, which came out like 2 days ago. And much like the gap between 1 and 2, John Wick 3 starts up literally right as the second one ends, which is just everyone is after John Wick, and we see him and how he uses his 1 hour to prepare. So he heads to the library to get a hidden stash of gold coins, which they use as sort of a currency kind of thing, a Blood Oath medallion, like the one in 2, and crucifix, like a gold crucifix, and a picture of his wife. So he goes to the library, but he gets confronted by this behemoth of a man. Basically, he is a giant. He was really creepy looking. He wasn't like huge and like wide. He was just like ridiculously tall and like, but still like muscly. It was weird. He was, but yeah, this is basically the first like big fight of the film. It is basically, to be honest, it basically turns into a battle royale because literally, like I said, for some reason everyone is for whatever reason inexplicably an assassin. Everyone he passes on the street, they're looking at him like, oh, I'm gonna murder you. Maybe that's why they did the Fortnite thing. I mean, it makes sense. I don't know what it looks like. Maybe he has like a bounty on his head or something. But that would make sense. Maybe that's the game mode in Fortnite. I don't know. I am by no means a pro on Fortnite. But yeah, the first like badass fight scene in 3 is between John Wick and this giant guy, and basically his hour isn't complete yet, but this giant guy is like, well, who's gonna know if I kill you before the hour's up, and tries to kill him. So there's a badass library fight scene, and John beats the shit out of this giant with a book. Does a lot of badass things. Like, I think in 2 or 1 he killed a load of people just with a pencil. This is kind of the third one's version of that, where he fucking wrecks this guy with a book, like manages to like snap his neck on it and like jam it in his mouth and break his jaw, and it was fucking brutal. But yeah, just in general, obviously these action films and the action in them is amazing, which I'll get onto. So next he goes to someone called the director, an old Russian lady who I guess trained him years and years ago. Calls in a favor with her and gets to Casablanca. Now, interspersed with this, there's a subplot where an adjudicator from the high table. This is where all the rules and stuff start to get a bit complicated. So there's a high table, and they're basically in charge of all the crime, all the assassins, all of that jazz, everything like that. So they send an adjudicator to everyone that helped John Wick. Everyone who helped John break the rules in 2, which led to him having the bounty and stuff, they get punished. So Winston of the Continental, he gets punished by basically they say, okay, you're going to lose your hotel and lose everything. You have a week to fuck off. The director who just helped him get to Casablanca gets stabbed through the hands. And the Bowery King, you just watched the book scene. It's pretty brutal. I mean, there's if you like that, I mean, go see the third one, man. So yeah, the Bowery King gets the worst of the punishments. Previously the adjudicator recruited a group of Japanese assassins led by a guy called Zero, and basically Zero slices the fuck out of the Bowery King, and he was seemingly dead. Spoiler alert, he turns out not to be dead by the end, but you thought he was dead, because he gets sliced many times with a sword. So yeah, that's the sort of subplot that's going on at the same time. Meanwhile, in Casablanca, you may wonder, why is John going to Casablanca? Well, he's going to Casablanca to try and track down someone that's above the high table, so the bosses of the boss, the big boss man. He's trying to track down the big boss man. So to do that, he calls in a blood oath favour, like the one that got called of him, to a woman called Sophia, who, surprise, surprise, is a crime boss and ex-assassin, much like John Wick. So he calls in a blood oath from her to get to another crime boss, who'da thunk, and then that crime boss leads them to the big boss. Okay? Are you keeping track of these many, many crime bosses? Because everyone's either an assassin or a crime boss in these films. Okay? The CEO of crime, basically. That's basically what he was. Although he seemed more like a prince or something. I don't know. Basically, to find him, he had to like trek across a desert, and then some guy finds him on a camel, and for whatever reason, the CEO of crime was just chilling in a desert. That's where he lives. He just lives in a tent in a desert. I don't know why. Doesn't really explain why he's there or how it came to be. Like, these things don't really get in depth in the film, but I don't know. So basically, he goes to the boss and is like, "Please, can I get this bounty taken off? I don't want." Obviously, he wants the bounty taken off, so everyone stops hunting him. And he's called the Elder, I think. The Elder agrees, but takes his finger. This is weird. I'm guessing it's like a reference or a homage or something. But he takes this finger, which is the same finger that gets taken for the assassins in Assassin's Creed. Basically, they make him chop off that finger. It's a mafia thing, sure. Yeah, well, considering it's a film about assassins, it might be a nod to Assassin's Creed as well. But yeah, mafia also. Mafia do some weird shit. But yeah, chopped off his finger as like an offering or something, I guess. And he said, "Okay, we'll get rid of the bounty, but you have to, for the rest of your life, you have to serve us again. So you're no longer retired, and you have to start by killing Winston." So Winston, boss of the Continental, John Wick's friend as well, helped him out many times. So yeah, John Wick agrees, and John Wick agrees to all of that, chops off his finger, says, "Yeah, I'll serve you, and yes, I'll kill Winston." Travels back to New York, to the Continental. Almost doesn't get there, because Zero and his ninja warriors, I'll just call them ninjas, they're basically ninjas, almost get him. There's a big old motorcycle battle with samurai swords, and also like all the fight scenes in this are fucking crazy. They're crazy, but they're so well done that you're like, huh, that's insane, but still believable somehow. Yeah, seriously, action 100. These films are crazy. So yeah, he gets to the Continental, but Winston gives him a whole speech, and he decides not to kill Winston. And instead of killing Winston, they both decide, you know what, the High Table is really screwing us over here. We're gonna go to war with the High Table. So the Adjudicator, as a result of this, deconsecrates the Continental, which basically means it loses its protection. So now people can be killed, and anything goes on Continental grounds now, whereas previously it was like a safe house. So they have John and Winston have a bit of time to prepare, and the High Table sends in a strike team, like the highest of high-end strike teams, like in full SWAT gear, but better SWAT gear, like fully bulletproof, like it just fucking pings off SWAT gear. This is a cool part of the movie. I really enjoyed this bit, because basically they're defending the hotel, where it's really cool. They all these like high-powered guys just swarm in, and it's basically John Wick and there's a guy that works at the hotel called Sharon or something. I don't know how you say it. They don't say his name. They might only like say his name once in like all 3 films or something, but apparently it's Sharon or Sharon with like Charon, so Sharon maybe. But he's been like the concierge in all 3 movies. He shows his badass side. He hasn't really done anything before. But he John and basically it's mostly him and John defend the whole hotel from this like army basically, and it was fucking badass, which I'll get onto in a bit. Zero and his men are also there. John kills Zero and his men. Not very easily though. I'm gonna say that. I'll get onto that as well. But yeah, basically John wins the fight, and the adjudicator calls a parley, which like a ceasefire. Let's talk terms. So they go up onto the roof and they start to talk terms. They offer Winston. This is where this all like happens very quickly. Basically, Winston is offered the opportunity to keep control of the Continental and everything. Because like it was a show of force and like they didn't realize how powerful he was or something. But they said, but John Wick is still a problem. We need to like do something about John Wick. And like John Wick's there. So Winston turns around and shoots John 3 times in the chest. Worth noting that John Wick has like a bulletproof suit or something, or semi-bulletproof suit. So when he gets shot, but it doesn't like go through, it's just like a blunt force impact. So he gets shot 3 times in the chest, falls off the roof. Dead? Question mark? John Wick dead? No, John Wick never dies. So, Winston gets back control and everything. John presumed dead, but John lives because he is rescued by, drumroll please, the Bowery King, who is also not dead. So the Bowery King and all his little minions have a new hideout, and the Bowery King's like weak. He almost died, and the Bowery King's like, oh, I'm pretty fucking pissed off with the High Table because they almost killed me. I'm pretty sure you're pissed off with the High Table as well because they almost just killed you. And basically the ending is, it seems like the Bowery King and John Wick are going to team up to take out all of the High Table. That's how it ends, pretty much. So yeah, that is John Wick 3. I was half expecting it to be like a trilogy, so I wasn't expecting it to. I was sort of expecting it to have a more like wrapped up ending, but it was like the ending was basically just another cliffhanger and like, oh, John Wick 4 time. So yeah, there is definitely going to be a John Wick 4, 100%. So yeah, that was John Wick 3. I don't think. See, I've just seen it, but I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the first 2. It was still very good, but I think a few things let it down, and I will go into those now. So I'll start off with what I like. So the whole law thing, with the high table, the crime lords, and everything, and all the rules and stuff that everyone has to follow. I really like that because it's quite unique. I probably haven't explained it well at all, but it's quite unique, and it brings a sort of order to all the chaos. So if like you're wondering, oh, well, why didn't he just shoot that guy in the head? Oh, he can't do that because it would be breaking so and so rule. So it sort of brings an order to all of it, and it helps it be a bit more structured rather than just senseless killing. Obviously, there's a lot of there is a lot of killing and stuff, but it's a bit more ordered and structured because of that. But obviously the main thing about these films are the fight scenes and the action scenes, basically. And 75% action scenes, I reckon, on these films, and they're amazing. The choreography of these fight scenes is just insane, and like you see, there's a video of Keanu Reeves, who is John Wick, doing like a speed run of a firing range course, and he does all of it. He's insanely good with guns now. Like he is basically Keanu Reeves basically became John Wick for these movies. And he knows all the moves. He like knows all the reloads, how to strip guns down and shit. It's impressive. And because of this, all the fight scenes seem more real, because I was thinking about this the other day. in other movies, I'm gonna use like the Marvel movies as an example, because they've got lots of fight scenes in them. So in say a Marvel movie, there's one scene in particular which comes to mind, and that's when at the start of The Winter Soldier, where Black Widow is fighting a bunch of goons. Now her fight is basically, she has a 2-minute fight with everyone, and it's obviously high paced and like similar action styles to John Wick. But in that 2-minute fight, there's like 200 fucking jump cuts. Between every punch, like between someone swinging a punch and it landing on someone's face, there's like 3 jump cuts, because of how like jankily it's edited, and obviously they're splicing in like stunt doubles and all sorts, putting in special effects and all sorts. A similar fight scene in the John Wick movies is just one continuous shot where everyone just fucking does everything, and it makes it so much more real and so much better. It makes it easier to follow what's going on. It makes it seem more brutal, because like you can see people like getting worn out, but because people were actually like physically getting worn out, whereas like people in other movies have like infinite stamina. In general, these films try to be a bit more realistic with the fight scenes. And it's like, so if John gets injured, he stays injured for like the whole thing. So like he gets stabbed in the shoulder, and that like fucks up his arm for the rest of the film. So yeah, it's obviously it's not like really realistic, because John Wick he can basically kill anyone, and he's just the best. But I'd say it's semi-realistic, at least with the fights, which is cool, which I like. And I think it's a much better way to do it, especially obviously for an action film. You gotta nail the fight scenes. And speaking of it like being realistic, I think the gunfights is way better than the melee fights. Because just the way you see them, the gunplay is just like really realistic. Like you see them reload when they need to reload. You see, with the SWAT team that comes in with the bulletproof armor, bullets are pinging off of them, So with every person he takes down, it's so like methodical. So he needs to like shoot them so many times in the chest, which like brings them physically down because of the impacts. And then he pulls the helmet up and then like shoots them in the back of the head where there's no armor. And it's just like it keeps the rules throughout the fight. It doesn't like inexplicably it doesn't like just forget that they have armor for a second. Which is cool, because it's like you can see that it's actually like a challenge for John Wick. He's not just like magically good at everything. He's like, he has to figure it out, and like he is good at like figuring it out and like actually like executing it, and solving problems. Like at one bit he was in the museum with lots of old guns, and he found he needs a revolver to. He just hasn't got a gun. He needs a revolver. Finds a bullet for it, doesn't fit, so he strips down the whole gun, and you see all this, and then like replaces bits with another gun so he can like fit the bullet in, and then does a fucking like swing around high noon western headshot of this guy, and it's just like, it's really fucking badass. Like at most points of the film, everyone's just like, oh yeah, go John Wick, god damn. But yeah, it's really good. I like the way I like the way it is. I don't know how else to say it. You watched a gun tutorial on how to make lead guns? Yep. I mean, maybe. Maybe that's how Keanu was training the whole time. Maybe that's the truth. Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of fight scenes I love. They're all like really unique as well. They're not all just the same ones over and over again. Obviously, like I said about the pencil and the book, he always finds like interesting ways to kill people, I guess, but like to solve all the problems. There's one scene, Sophia, who's played by Halle Berry, has 2 attack dogs, and the attack dogs have body armor, which is just fucking cool in itself. But the whole scene with the attack dogs was just like crazy, because like these, as far as I can tell, those were like real dogs who were actually doing the things, and those dogs must have been so fucking well trained. Holy shit, they must have been real like police dogs or something, because the shit they were doing was like insane. Like she'd like fucking mark their targets, and like they went for the balls as well. That was cool. Not enough dogs go for the balls. It was just, I can't really describe that scene doing it justice, because I can't. It was a big scene, and I don't know. I just can't explain it. But yeah, real fucking cool. John Wick 4. John kills 103 people with a pack of Legos. Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he like fucking throwing knifed the Lego like down their esophagus and they all choke. It was crazy. That's a really good scene. They're in this like weapons museum. The same one as the guns, but basically there are knife exhibits like all along, and they're just having a fist fight, and there's this moment where they both realize at the same time that they're surrounded by knives, and they're all like, oh. They smash the glass, grab the knives, and there's like a huge like throwing knife battle, and John Wick at the end basically makes a fucking hedgehogs out of these guys. They had like 20 knives like stuck in their backs, and it was a crazy scene. And it ends with a really badass shot, with him like being out of focus in the background and hurling an axe through this guy's head. It was so fucking good. It was so good. I think I read before watching it that was like the most physically intensive scene that they've ever filmed for one of these movies, and like you can see it because like like I said, it's they try to do it as in few cuts as possible, so it's like you can see them like getting tired and like fighting like almost for real. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, it's just there are lots of moments like that where you sit there in your seat and are like, holy shit, that was fucking cool. That was fucking cool. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much what I like about all the fight scenes. There are a few in the third one. I'll move on to the things I didn't like. Let's go there. I felt that the third film wasn't quite as realistic as the other ones, because there are lots of points where I saw in fights, especially like the melee fights with like all the ninja people. There are so many moments where John Wick should have just been dead. Like he had his back to some ninjas and they had a sword like in his on his neck or something, and they just, instead of just stabbing him, they like took a big swing so he could block it, if you know what I mean. It seemed like, I don't know, there are lots of moments where you're like, okay, well, John Wick should be dead right now. He should be decapitated. He didn't know that guy was there, and the guy was about to fucking stab him through the face. So it's just, he had some plot armor, I think, in those battles. It was sort of explained because a lot of these ninja guys were looking up to John Wick because he's really famous in the assassin community and all the crime community. So they like respected him and they were fans. It was like them meeting a celebrity. So that sort of explains why they didn't like just go straight for the kill. They wanted to like actually have a fight with John Wick. But you know, it's like there's a respect there, but like it sort of took away from the movie a bit. I felt it's quite a cool concept that obviously he is like well known as the best assassin in the world, but. And like that gives him a level of such a huge level of respect. Yeah, respect the Wick. Basically, people's respect for John gets him out of a lot of trouble. Basically, like he gets geared out by people that like him, like Winston. He gets patched up by a doctor, who shouldn't have been helping him, but it's like, oh, okay, it's John Wick. I'll help John Wick. So there's quite a bit of that, and there's more of it in the third, from what I can remember, than the other two, and it's like it sort of detracts from the whole experience a little bit, but not too much. So that's it was only really with the ninja fights though, so not all the time. So that's one thing I didn't like. Like I said, the story got a bit weird. When they went more in depth with the whole high table stuff, but they didn't really explain it. So it's like, okay, there's a big. First of all, so many different crime bosses. Jesus Christ, to give it a rest. We've already had like 3 different crime bosses in every film, and now there's like 10 coming at you. Excuse me. But yeah, the whole high table thing with the Elder, like why was he in a desert? Why is that where he chose to live? Like out in the middle of fucking nowhere. Didn't really explain all of that. It's just got a bit weird, basically. Well, yeah, apparently that the desert is the best place to live. But who knew? Another thing I didn't like about the third one is that it didn't really progress the story, because the second one ended with John Wick being like the most wanted man in the world, and the third one ended with John Wick being the most wanted man in the world. So, what was the point of the third movie? Because nothing's really changed. I mean, they're going after the high table now, but that's the only thing. It just felt like a big setup to the fourth one. And it was a good film. Obviously, it's mostly action film, so you really enjoyed the action, you enjoyed the ride, but story-wise, it didn't really progress anything too much. You know, it was a bit disappointing. It felt like they shifted more focus into the action and less the story, where maybe they should have paid a bit more attention to where the story was going. But obviously these make a lot of money, so they're going to want to set up a fourth one. And maybe I don't know if they have like an ending set out. I hope they do. I think maybe the fourth one, if they manage to like take out the high table, or at least try, I think that might be a good ending for the series. But I guess we'll have to see about that. I already mentioned this, but another thing that I half disliked is that everyone's a fucking assassin, apparently. Literally, like, everyone he walked past in New York and when he went to Casablanca was an assassin. Like, John Wick couldn't, like, walk down a street without, like, people trying to kill him, basically. And it's like, well, are there really that many assassins in this universe? Is everyone an assassin? Because that's just weird. Where are the normal people? Where are the police? You never see any police in these films. Do they just not exist? But I'd say more than 50%. I don't know whether you've seen these films, but, like, literally everyone he walks past, assassins. It's a bit weird. It's just a bit weird. Like, I guess necessary for the amount of action that's in the films, but it's just okay. I guess you just need to accept that everyone is an assassin. The other thing that I'm going to mention is the high table has like this administration team that works in a big office, but for some reason this the administration team, they're all like alternative white girls with tattoos. Do you know the like type of girl I mean, where they've got like dyed hair, but like they've got dyed hair, big glasses, tattooed. That's what all of them look like. Like, no matter what their age is, that's what all of them look like. Apart from one guy that you see, who is also tattooed and looks like that. And they all wear, like, pink shirts and grey skirts. And it's like, why the fuck does everyone in this administration bit look exactly the same? Do they not hire anyone that doesn't look like that? It's just really weird. It's just, like, everything else is so, like, gritty and, like, realistic, but then there's just this workforce of alternative people that have to be tattooed in order to work there, and they're all like really attractive as well. So it's like, okay, well, you need to be attractive, you need to have tattoos. If you've got that, you can join my administration team that puts out bounties on people. It's just, I just didn't get it. I just didn't get it. Okay, Carius, well, cool. glad you popped in. And yes, it is a nice green screen. Still got some lighting to set up, but yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. Yes, have a nice sleep. Goodbye. But yeah, I mean, that's not something I really like. Yeah, they all have glasses as well. There's big, like, hipster glasses. Yeah. It's not like something I disliked about the film. It's just weird because it just didn't really fit, or at least I don't think it fits that well. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I've got to say about them. So far it's a really good series. I didn't watch the first two when they came out. But I binged them when they came out on like Netflix and Amazon Prime. And I was like, oh shit, these are really good. I can see why these make a lot of money. It's really solid, really solid. Not anymore, I don't think. They were. Obviously, with Netflix, depends on your country, because all of the content changes depending on your country. So maybe. Yeah, have a look around. But like, if you haven't seen them, I would 100%. If you like action films, these are top tier action films. They're great. They don't take themselves too seriously, but they've got really solid action. So yeah, they're pretty freaking good, man. I would strongly recommend 1, 2, and 3. Not a bad film in the bunch. Some are better than others, obviously, but not a bad film in the bunch. And then if you catch up on 1 and 2, I'd say 3 is worth a trip to the cinema. Like, yeah, definitely. It's pretty good. Pretty damn good. Had fun with it. So yeah, that's if there are no questions. No questions. I think I'll wrap it up. John's side job as a Fortnite player. Yeah. Oh, of course. Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's why John wants to retire. He wants to retire so he can just become a pro streamer, stream Fortnite, play as himself, be pretty cool. Honestly, it's such a weird film to tie in with Fortnite, because it's like Fortnite is basically a kids game. These are not kids' movies. these are not movies for children. So in that regard, I mean, obviously it's got guns and stuff in it, but in the regard of the killing and the brutality of these films, not a kids' film. Maybe shouldn't be tied to a kids' game. I can see how Avengers is, but John Wick is a bit different. But yeah, maybe that is his long-term goal, to settle down and play some Fortnite. So yeah, if there's nothing else, wasn't planned to be a kids game, but kids play it. Well, I guess. But then the John Wick came after the kids came, so you know they knew kids would be playing it, and they're basically advertising John Wick to kids. Even though kids shouldn't be watching John Wick. Oh well, that's a different thing. Maybe one day I'll do a JamsHams review on fucking Fortnite, but don't hold your breath on that one. But yeah, this has been JamsHams Judgement. That's what I do. Yeah, maybe they did. Yep, this has been JamsHams Judgement. Every week I review a thing. Feel free to join the Discord to suggest other things that I will review. I try to do them on Fridays or Saturdays. I know this is a Sunday. If I miss Friday or Saturday, I will do it on Sunday. So it'll be a weekend thing. I think this. What number is this? Maybe 7? This is either 7 or 8, I think. JamsHams Judgement 7 or 8. So we're trucking through them. But I enjoy doing them. You guys seem to enjoy watching them. So yeah, feel free to go in the Discord, suggest things that I can review, and then you can join in. Pretty cool. Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, Fritz, yes, good. I never know how to end these things. So yeah, crickets, that'll be the perfect end for the YouTube. Oh fuck me. I really need to come up with some sort of ending outro or script that I read off, because my god, not good.